So by the time this podcast comes out, this won't exactly be breaking news. However, I want to give you my spin on it and tell you what my opinion is. So, I heard that the Watts are in cahoots or not happy with Lana Oriani because apparently she forged their signatures to be board members of the non-profit organization Fight for a Family, an organization which Lana originally claimed would help Chris Watts get post-conviction relief, 35C. Now, this is the very reason why I've never sympathized with the Watts family. You hook up with a woman who mocked in the most derogatory way your murdered daughter-in-law, the daughter-in-law that your son murdered. So from there, I don't have any sympathy for the Watts family, for Cindy and Ronnie Watts, because you're expecting somebody who mocked a murdered pregnant woman who is your daughter-in-law to help you get post-conviction relief for your murdering son. I mean, what did they expect? They expected that they would be able to trust this woman. She had no credentials. She wasn't an attorney or a lawyer herself. She mocked a murdered pregnant woman mercilessly on YouTube. I mean, what did the Watts actually expect from Lana Oriani, who is somebody who uses word salad to sell nothing because she has really nothing to sell. She has nothing to... I mean, she's somebody who just talks. She talks the talk, but she never walks the walk. The so-called Fight for a Family non-profit was good enough for the Watts when they thought it was a way they could raise money to help their son. But all of the avenues that they've tried to use up to help their son get post-conviction relief, they've all dried up. So the Watts are probably bitter about that. And even though they have a lot of support now and a lot of people turning against the other family, there is no way that anyone is going to produce miracles for Chris Watts. There is no lawyer, there is no attorney that's going to get him post-conviction relief because he is not eligible for post-conviction relief. This is what I don't understand with the Watts family. They expect miracles. They expect that they can use people to get their son out of prison who have no credentials whatsoever. That makes no sense to me, and that suggests to me that they're entitled and they expect miracles to happen from out of nowhere. Chris Watts is not eligible for parole. He's not eligible for a 35C. He signed documents admitting that he annihilated his family. He led investigators to the bodies. They were buried where he worked as a field coordinator. There is no hope for him. He's never going to be released by any authority. So the fact that they thought that Lana Oriani was going to help them get their son post-conviction relief tells me that they have a sense of entitlement that goes beyond normal, the normal realms of reality. They're just not here. Miracles don't exist for family annihilators. He's never going to be released. I think the fact that they thought that she could help them, that they could use her, and that she could help them, knowing that she was mocking Shanann, I think that also shows a very disturbing lack of empathy. And it proves what a lot of us have been saying for a long time, is that they have no empathy for Shanann whatsoever, and they didn't like her. So, this idea that Cindy and Shanann loved each other and they loved their daughter-in-law and that they were very close. Cindy said herself in her first solo interview that she didn't go to the wedding because her and Shanann did not get along. That's not a rumor made up by people who don't sympathize with the Watts. That's something that came from Cindy Watts's own mouth. She said she did not go to the wedding because she and Shanann couldn't get along. She never liked the way Shanann treated her son. Watch the interview, the solo interview that Cindy Watts gave. She said it from her own mouth that she and Shanann didn't get along. She didn't like her. And the fact that she would hook up, or the Watts would hook up with a woman who mocked a pregnant woman, their pregnant daughter-in-law, proves that they had no empathy for Shanann whatsoever in death. So I don't sympathize with the Watts for those reasons. And I think that some authority needs to look into that non-profit that Lana claims that she's running, because I think it's shady, and I thought it was shady from the very beginning, and I made a podcast about that, and I'm going to link it into this video. It's shady. She's a shady person. I don't trust her one bit. She's not to be trusted. This case has attracted psychos in every single form that you can possibly imagine. So many. Iva, whose real name is, I think, is Tracy. Not sure about that, but Iva Problem, she's one of them, but she's harmless. And there are so many others. I mean, Dave and AD are definitely in that list. But I just want to touch on something before I close this podcast. Miss Mensah often talks about the fact, and she's discussed this with me when we were on speaking terms, that Cindy and Ronnie were offered a lawyer to work on Christopher Watts's case pro bono, to take his case pro bono, and they refused. This is something that pissed her off, and she's claiming that Ronnie and Cindy begged her to find them a lawyer to help their son Chris. And she's also saying that they were offered an attorney, a defense attorney, an experienced defense attorney to take up their son's case, to defend him, to try and help him. And they refused. And this is a question, and this is an issue that Miss Mensah often brings up with me in the past. My answer to that is, I don't know exactly why Ronnie and Cindy would refuse an attorney pro bono to work on their son's case. I don't know the answer to that. There could be 1,000,001 reasons. My feeling has always been on that particular issue that they know full well that there is not a single attorney or defense attorney or lawyer in this world that is going to help him. He's made his bed and he's lying in it. So I think my hunch is that the reason why, if it is true that they were offered an attorney pro bono and they didn't take it, my hunch is that they didn't take up an attorney's offer to work on the case pro bono out of fear. Just plain fear that they would go through this journey and not get anything out of it in the end. That's what I think. That is my hunch. The reason why they didn't take up with an attorney who offered to work on Chris's case pro bono is simply out of fear, that they didn't want to, be in and out of court, or they didn't want to start proceedings with an attorney, because that would have made everything official, and that would have meant that they would have, they would go through all that trauma again. And I think they feared being disappointed in the end. That's just my feeling. But the truth of the matter is that there is no attorney that is going to help Chris Watts. There is nothing that anyone can do for him now. He screwed himself by signing documents, by leading, law enforcement to the bodies. there is nothing that is going to save him. The most experienced attorney, working for free or not, is not going to be able to save him. It's like when something grows inside your body and it grows so much that it spreads everywhere and you can't get rid of it. It's too late for Chris Watts. That's what I'm trying to say. So this issue that Miss Mensah often brings up, and she's brought it up with me several times, it's actually a non-issue because it's too late to save him now. The time to have gotten a lawyer was when he was sitting in that interrogation room. But the problem is Chris Watts thought he could talk himself out of his situation. And his parents were just not very smart people, because a smart father would say, shut up, don't say anything, let's get an attorney. But I think there's also a money issue. I don't know what their financial situation is now, but Cindy and Ronnie Watts are not, they're not people who had a lot of money. Hiring an attorney is very expensive. So, in that sense, they were screwed. They are screwed. There is not a single person that is ever going to, there's not a single attorney or lawyer that's ever going to be able to help Chris Watts. He is screwed. He's never going to be released. There is nothing that's ever going to save him now. The time to get an attorney was when he was sitting in that interrogation room. The answer to why they went with Lana, I really do think that the second best thing for them was to try and repair their son's reputation. And their reputation. Not just their son's reputation, but their reputation. And they thought that going the Lana route would enable them to do so. And with this fight for a family, you had to pay money to listen to a podcast. That was the original agreement or thought or plan. So they probably thought that, maybe they can make a little cash out of it while repairing their, image. But I don't think the Watts are very smart people, because a smart person would have said to their son, do not say anything in that interrogation room. I'm going to get you a lawyer. But I don't think they had the smarts or the means. There is not a single attorney that's going to be able to help Chris Watts now. He's made his bed, he's lying in it. It's too late for Chris Watts.